Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Fluently Forward. Today, we are talking about Chappell Roan, the allegations of industry plant that her and multiple other people, artists, podcasters, even influencers have gotten over the past couple of years. And we're going to be tying this together for a very fun episode all about what an industry plant truly is, artists who have had that allegation against them, and a little bit about Chappell Roan. I love her so much. I personally don't believe she's an industry plant, but after we learn the definition in the first half, you can make a decision for yourself by the end of this episode. So if you were online at all, you've probably heard about Chappell Roan. Like if the TikTok app is installed in your phone, you have probably seen this star rise to fame. And when I say rise to fame, I mean like skyrocket. I'm talking a bunch of Mentos and a Diet Coke and then shaken up and boom, that is Chappell Roan. She is an artist. She's 26 years old. She grew up in Missouri. Her latest album, The Rise and Fall, I believe, of a Midwest Princess, is out, and she is getting such notoriety, not only for having such incredible songs. Like her songs are just so good. Her voice is incredible. The lyrics are so authentic and raw. And it's also music I haven't heard in a while. It's just different. Every song of hers almost feels like a Broadway musical song. I don't know how to describe it. It's just scratching my brain in such a good way. She's all I've been listening to this past week. And one of the things she's been notorious for are all of these drone shots that I'm seeing of her performing at different festivals and stages and drawing the hugest crowd ever. So much so that people are like, these festivals are going to have to rearrange who their headliner is because Chappell Roan just barely made it on the bill when they booked everybody a year ago. And now she's the biggest star out there. So it's making people intrigued, curious, suspicious perhaps with these industry plant allegations. And I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit suspicious of Chappell Roan when she first started getting big. And there's two reasons for that. One is stupid, and I'm just going to say it, but I have a phobia of the Queen of Hearts. And, Chappell Roan is a drag character kind of for her. Chappell Roan itself is a stage name, but she kind of puts on a drag persona when she embodies Chappell Roan. Her real name is Kaylee Rose. But when she is the artist Chappell Roan, she's in all of these different like diva outfits. She dressed up as the Statue of Liberty. She was performing on Jimmy Kimmel dressed as the Black Swan and then the White Swan. But for her album and a lot of her performances before she was kind of doing different costumes, it was like a pale white powdered face and like big orange curly hair. I don't know why. The Queen of Hearts, she just strikes fear into my bones. And I would be seeing her Queen of Hearts face on her album because henceforth the industry plant allegations. After almost every song I was playing on Spotify the past couple of months, doesn't matter if I was playing The Wiggles or Nickelback, which shout out to Nickelback, I still bumped them. Every song after would either be Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter or Good Luck Babe by Chappell Roan. And I got a little bit pissy because I was like, I've never listened to Chappell Roan once. I would like for after my playlist Spotify to play songs that I already know and enjoy. Why do they keep surfacing me Chappell Roan when I've never listened to a single one of her songs? We're going to talk about that later when we talk about industry plants. So let's kick off this episode. And real quick, before I do, we dropped a banger of a 2-hour Patreon episode. Fluently Forward, or no, that's not it. It's patreon.com/fluently forward. It's an episode that's kind of been years in the making. Everybody's been asking, hey, Shannon, NT was recently exposed. His identity was revealed. If you know, NT is the king of gossip, the man who writes a lot of blind items that we talk about here on the show. If you don't know who NT is, don't worry about this next section. And I'm so jealous of your high vitamin D levels. You must be so healthy. But if you are curious, a lot of people had been saying, Shannon, what do you think about NT's identity being revealed? What do you think this means for blind items? Did you know who he was? You've done episodes with him before in the past. Did he ever hit on you? Just like all of these questions. We were doing Q&As over on Patreon. So Cam, from what I will say, joined me for a 2-hour episode. It definitely made my butthole clench and it made me sweat and nervous. It's something that I haven't wanted to talk about for the last 8 months since it came out. But enough time passed and I get it. If I was like a listener of this podcast, I would also be curious for my take on it. So if you want to check that out, patreon.com/fluentlyforward. It'll be $5 a month. You get a bonus episode every week. A lot of these bonus episodes are sometimes 2 hours long. We do fun Q&As. We do extra episode drops. It's a little bit more conspiracy, speculation, woo-woo focused over there. We just go a little bit ham on it. So check that out if you want to. Okay. All right. Let's get into the episode here. Industry plant. It is one of those terms that is just being absolutely bastardized on TikTok, and people are using this. We're going to go over a list at the end, but industry plant, nepo baby, gaslight, narcissist, intrusive thoughts, girls. It's like words don't really mean anything on TikTok anymore, and people throw around this phrase of an industry plant. You hear it for everyone. Jack Harlow, Billie Eilish, back in the day, Lana Del Rey. Like every single artist who is well-to-do, some people throw the term industry plant at them. And this term industry plant actually comes from hip hop, and it basically is understood to be an artist who has some sort of like major label or record company that's backing their movement and providing all of this money and capital and marketing to put them out to the masses and make them really successful. And they're lying about being some sort of organic, I started off on YouTube, just me in my closet with a guitar singing a song. But really, this person, this artist, is a product of an industry that has paid for them to be successful and put them out there. And I think it's no coincidence that the term of industry plant is on the rise as conspiracy theories are more in the zeitgeist, blind items are out and about. Like there's just all of these different, the phrase nepo baby is another thing. I think post 2020, we are becoming more suspicious, and maybe not even sometimes suspicious for the right reasons, right? Like I always think it's good to be curious, to ask questions. And it's not so much that we're being suspicious. I think it's that there is a lack of trust. There's been a sincere lack of trust. We don't trust our government. We don't trust our economy. We don't trust, and I'm only speaking for Americans here. We don't trust our healthcare system. I don't trust the food that I eat. Is somebody looking out for me to make sure that the pesticides, we did that great public episode all about the food pyramid scheme, one of my favorite episodes I've done. And I think this distrust is also coming at a time where over on social media platforms and even things in your mailbox and your emails, and we're getting text messages, we are being absolutely barraged. Is that a word? Barraged? Barraged? I think it's barraged. With ads. We are being sold to constantly. And you even see it on Instagram. Just 2 years ago, you used to be able to click from one friend's story to the next. And then sometimes they would put an ad in between two of your friends' stories. And have you guys noticed this on Instagram now? There'll be 2 ads in between your friends' stories. So we just keep getting all of this shit pushed on us. And we're really distrustful of all of these companies and institutions out there. So when you see a big artist all of a sudden take off, you go, oh, great. I don't trust this industry. They're trying to sell me someone. And then the joke of it is, even if you want to go see them on tour, a ticket is like $200. And then you add Ticketmaster fees. And it's like, that'll be $270. What the fuck? So anyway, that term industry plant, it's been around for a while, and who knows if it's people using it incorrectly on TikTok or maybe just kind of the pinnacle moment of all of these ads and the distrust of institutions coming together, but it's really taking off in a big way. And being called an industry plant, obviously, it's not a compliment, I don't think any artist goes, oh my God, thank you so much. I'm so honored, because calling somebody an industry plant basically means you're bought and paid for. You're not authentic. Music isn't actually important. You didn't work hard. You don't deserve this type of success and recognition that you're getting. And we had on Megan and Liz for a public episode. It was like On Record, Secrets of the Music Industry or something like that. It was a great episode. Highly recommend you check it out if you haven't yet. But they were saying industry plants aren't really a thing, because trust me, like, these media and record label companies, they have money. It's, money that is assigned to these different artists that sign to their label, and they're trying to make an industry plant. Like, they're putting money behind someone. If industry plants were a thing, they would be doing it all the time. It would be so great to have a formula to get someone to be famous. But the truth of the matter is, it kind of seems like they operate more on a scale of sign a bunch of people, see if somebody hits, and if somebody doesn't hit right away, just kind of toss them to the side, disregard them, and try somebody new. And they're all about trying to pick somebody new and hope that that person pops off because they want to say, I discovered this girl in a grocery store and look at her now, etc. Now, I find the concept of industry plants a little bit laughable. Not laughable like ha ha ha, but a little bit more hee hee hee. Just because for me, when it comes to an artist, what I've seen is that somebody either hits or they don't. Like, for example, Gracie Abrams, no shade. She seems like a sweet girl. She's super cute. I like her song Close to You. But I feel like I've been hearing about Gracie Abrams for years and years. And even though she's on tour with Taylor Swift and she just did a song with Taylor Swift, it just kind of seems a little bit like Gretchen Wieners. Like we're trying to make Gracie Abrams happen and it's just not happening. On the other hand, you have Olivia Rodrigo, you have Chappell Roan, who we'll get into this later in the episode, but ironically, they both use the same producer. Anyway, and these are artists who came onto the scene and boom, their first album, complete banger, everybody loves them. And it almost seems to me like artists are either a hit or not a hit. I will say it's not always true, right? Like, for example, Charlie XCX is having another like very big moment right now, renaissance. But I just think there's something about art and creativity and music especially where it either clicks with people or it doesn't. And everything that makes it click is the lyrics, the tone of the voice, the soulfulness, all of these things that can't really be bought and paid for by an industry. Like I think the concept of an industry plant would work for other mediums, but for music, I don't know if it would so much. Now, there are instances where industry plants have planted, okay? We're going to go back to 2013, and this is something that happened with Spotify. Spotify is on my radar of like my shit list Spotify. And I know I'm always like, listen to the podcast on Spotify. For what? Spotify is such a piece of shit company. Not me saying this every episode. But it's just so obvious that they change and manipulate and control their algorithm and it is not organic and they push their own shit, their Spotify originals, all the time, which of course they're going to do, right? It's the same reason you go to Netflix and all of the Netflix originals are always on the homepage. You actually have to scroll down to continue what you're watching. But Spotify has a proven track record of being kind of in this industry plant game for the last 9 years. So this happened in 2013 when Lorde, New Zealand pop star Lorde, who recently worked it out on the remix with Charlie XCX, made her debut. And how did she get famous? So before she was on every radio station in the US and, a huge mega pop star, she was on Sean Parker's Spotify playlist called Hipster International. And you know who Sean Parker is. He was the founder of Napster. If you watch The Social Network, that movie all about Facebook, Justin Timberlake played Sean Parker. He has that iconic line where they're having dinner and Mark Zuckerberg is saying, we have plans to start the Facebook and it's going to be a huge thing. The Facebook is going to be in college campuses everywhere. And after the dinner, he turns and he goes, drop just Facebook. It's cleaner. Goddamn, Social Network was such a good movie. And I hate to say it because I know we all fucking hate Justin Timberlake. I think he's a good actor. I do. I thought he was great in The Social Network and I thought he was really good in Friends with Benefits too. I don't know why. Sometimes I think certain artists, like I actually think Justin Timberlake, J-Lo, and Beyonce, fantastic at acting. So anyway, Sean Parker, who's, famous for Napster, Facebook guy, big deal, he adds Lorde's song to his playlist and everybody starts listening to it and they're like, oh, this is pretty good. It got a reaction around the world. The head of Lava Records, who signed Lorde, said in an email that 6 days later after she was on that playlist, Royals then was picked up by Spotify, and Spotify has a viral chart, and they put Royals into their Spotify viral chart. So then it just kept growing and growing and growing, and it was like this first spark that by Spotify highlighting this song, it just spread like wildfire. So then this guy, Steve Sakoa, who is the head of content at Spotify, he noticed that this one song was growing. It was doing really well for socials, for content. So then him and the Spotify team said, you know what, let's take Lorde and let's feature her on the Spotify homepage, which I would argue is messing with the algorithm. The Spotify homepage is a tricky son of a bitch. And I just think it's just so interesting and odd that every time I scroll on my Spotify homepage, they're showing me all of these Spotify originals, Spotify this. Sabrina Carpenter, right? Her song Espresso kept playing after people's songs ended on Spotify. It confused a lot of people. And then it came out that Sabrina Carpenter this summer is going on tour. And guess who is putting the tour together? Spotify. They're now doing tours with Sabrina Carpenter. So it's a little less confusing that they keep playing Espresso after every song. You know what I mean? Today's episode is For Your Vagina. There's no beating around the bush, pun intended. I want to tell you a little bit about Soaking Wet. It's a supplement from VB Health. You might have seen me in Vegas with VB Health at the Porn Awards, aka the AVN Awards. I am so excited to learn about Soaking Wet because you have probably heard me talk about discharge too much on TikTok. But Soaking Wet is this incredible supplement. It's a blend of probiotics, prebiotics, and vitamins. It's basically like sending your vagina to the spa. So whether you are battling with BV or you are yearning to not have a yeast infection anymore, or perhaps you just literally want to be soaking wet and up the ante in the lubrication department, you can check out Soaking Wet. It's formulated by these medical doctors at VB Health, and it has thousands of probiotic strains. So it's just, like I said, sending your vagine to the spa. So you can visit soakingwet.com and use code FLUENTLY for 10% off, or you can click the link in our episode description. And by the way, that code FLUENTLY for 10% off, if maybe your vagina is crystal clear and everything's good, they also have green superfoods. They have sleep gummies, way more. So go check it out. You know that I love talking about this topic too much, so I'm a big fan of Soaking Wet. And you can use code FLUENTLY for 10% off at soakingwet.com. Anyway, so that was what Spotify did. They promoted Lorde through their viral content playlist and then featuring her on the Spotify homepage. And then before you know it, she's on the radio. 92 million views just for Royals on YouTube. Billboard Top 100. It was number one. Beat out Eminem, beat out Miley Cyrus, spread like wildfire. Lorde is successful. She's an incredible artist. You know, she's talented and she's been working for a long time. She signed with this record label, Universal Music Group, at the age of 13 in 2009. And she had, different sessions with songwriters. They went well, they didn't went well. You're moving around. She definitely put in the work and she was definitely going to be a star. But how much did Spotify putting her on the homepage and featuring her and handpicking her to go in their different playlists added to that? It's kind of for any of my millennials or Gen Xers or boomers who might remember iTunes back in the day before Spotify was even a thing, back when you had to pay 99 cents for a song and then $1.29 for a song. I remember I was just a kid with a pink iPod and a dream. And I would download, I didn't have any music. I would download all of my brother's Linkin Park onto it. But iTunes once a week would give out a free song. And I remember that, so you had a bad day, you sa da da da, you sing a da da just to turn it around, right? That was one of the free songs that they gave. Now, technically, how did they decide who got that free song spot? Because that guy, everybody knows that song, and it's only because it was iTunes free song of the week. Is that kind of an industry plant? Is that throwing marketing and money and promotion towards someone to give them access that other artists wouldn't get? So it's really interesting. I don't doubt that all of these artists that are around today are talented. You could throw all the money in the world at someone, and if they can't hold a note and their music isn't good, they're just not going to take off. I'm not going to say Gracie Abrams, but her dad is J.J. Abrams, right? This is a Nepo baby who has definitely gotten all of the chances. It's a little bit like Kendall Jenner with modeling. You know what I mean? Anyway, but maybe some artists where it would have taken them 5 years to reach a level of success, maybe they've got the right person on their side or working for them or with them. That 5 years, you can whittle it down to 2 with the right strategy and promotion. So what have artists said in response to this whole industry plant allegation? Billie Eilish said, quote, I just want to hear the reasons why that's said. I don't believe in the industry plant bullshit because it's actually impossible to make someone genuinely successful and it be fake. You can get famous and be fake, but not have people cherish you and make art that is really good. I just want to do a little bit of a caveat here. If you listened to my episode about a month ago, we were talking about pop culture conspiracy theories, okay? And I was keeping this to friends only on TikTok, but I think I'm ready to share it with the public now. There was a conspiracy theory that Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas are actually older than they actually are because they were homeschooled, and allegedly somebody who claimed to be their neighbor went on like a forum or Twitter or something and was like, they're lying about their ages. It's not that Phineas is 26 and Billie Eilish is 21. They're actually older, and their parents just said that they were younger, so that way they came across as these virtuoso musical genius kids who were doing music at such a young age, when really their true age, they were just doing music at a normal age. So I made a TikTok video talking about that conspiracy theory, basically saying like, haha, don't you think it's stupid? But like, whatever, some people think that they're a few years older. When I tell you, Phineas himself, Billie Eilish's brother, commented on that TikTok video of mine, because everybody in the comments was saying, Phineas does not look 26. Like, that man is definitely in his 30s. How old was he when he was on Glee then? He must have been under 18. And Phineas comments on my TikTok within a couple hours. And he says, I was 17 when I was in Glee. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, maybe he's having some fun with it. So I comment back and I go, yeah, but are you 46 now? With the eyes emoji, obviously joking. He responds back with an eye roll emoji. Okay, so Phineas is not happy. He does not like this conspiracy theory about him being a few years older. So then the video's popping off. I repurpose it. I throw it up over on Instagram. A few hours goes by. Guess who comments on the Instagram version of the video? Billie Eilish and Phineas's mother. And she comments and she's like, haha, like normally I wouldn't comment on stuff like this, but as somebody who gave birth to both of them, they are in fact their ages. Like, here are the birth dates that they were born, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting here like, you know, Shannon McNamara, I posted this video from the toilet in Denver. What's going on where within the time span of a day, 2 different family members have commented on this video, which is like, out of all conspiracy, I'm not calling anyone a pedophile or satanic. I'm just saying some people think they're a few years older than they are. And both family members commented on it. Now, we were talking about it over on Patreon, and some people were like, Shannon, you're in the family group chat, you know, like I guess Phineas tattled on his mom and was like, this girl is bullying me and saying that I'm, 29, not 26, like, mom, go defend me or something. Now, look, is the conspiracy theory true? I definitely didn't think so when I made the video. But isn't it a little bit odd that both of them commented on it? Like, when you're a celebrity, not to mention, not a celebrity, like you've performed at the Grammys type of like A-list celebrity. What are you doing? Like, respond. I see crazy stuff about myself online all the time. I don't say anything about it. And this was like a very blasé, innocent conspiracy theory. And I talked about it in a very joking way. Kind of makes you think that they're a little bit older, doesn't it? Anyway, not me spreading rumors, but anyway, so that was Billie Eilish speaking out about how she's not an industry plant and saying that she is in fact 55 years old. Is that what my notes say? I don't know. Jack Harlow has also been accused of being an industry plant, and he said, quote, I did open mics. I did South by Southwest. I did showcases with no one there. My first tour, I went to Madison, Wisconsin and did a bar with 8 people. If people didn't see any of that, they're like, where'd he come from? And I totally get that. Like, even Chappell Roan, I was late to the party, but in doing the research about her, which we're about to go into, she didn't just pop up out of nowhere. This is somebody who's been working and grinding for years to make it happen. And I think when people say industry plant, they just don't look at the phrase, it takes 10 years to make somebody an overnight success, which is so true. And then apparently there was some band called the Tramp Stamps that people think is an industry plant band. And they said, quote, you have gone to the ends of the fucking earth to shit on us, have told us to kill ourselves, and have used conspiracy theories on TikTok. Side note, who does something like that? As a trend to get more views on your own videos. Fuck you. You don't like our music? Don't listen to it. And honestly, I'm not trying to be shady, but who's the Tramp Stamps? I looked them up on Instagram and I have more followers than them. And I only have like 27,000 followers on Instagram. Anyway, interesting. Now, what I also find very, very interesting is it's not just artists and singers who are getting these industry plant allegations and labels thrown at them. We're seeing it in other places, and it's sometimes true. So Alex Earl, right? She's this huge TikToker, the blonde with the blue eyes and the big boobs. She looks like Serena van der Woodsen or something. I love her content. She's dating Braxton. He's like an NFL player. It came out that she was in fact being pushed by the TikTok algorithm for her videos to be in the For You page. And the For You page is where everything lives on TikTok. Like there's absolutely manipulation that could happen in there. Bobby Outhoff, is that her name? She's like the deadpan podcaster who interviewed Drake like as her second ever interview. And a lot of people, industry plant accusations for that. So it's not just artists. And while I think that I agree with the 40-year-old Billie Eilish's point, which is basically that you can't fake love. Like you could throw all of the money and promotion and marketing into somebody, but you're not going to be able to get somebody to buy a concert ticket and show up unless they truly organically like that person. However, without a shadow of a doubt, there are ways that industries and Spotify and record labels can either help you or hurt you. And I think to pretend like there aren't is just being a little bit dense. You know what I mean? So before we go into Chappell Roan, I asked you guys over on Instagram, where once again I have more followers than the tramp stamps. Sorry, I'm being like messy this episode. What other words do you see getting bastardized on TikTok other than industry plant? Here's the list we came up with, and I feel like we should make an official Fluently Forward list. Nepo baby, right? It should mean you're getting a job through nepotism because your parent worked in this industry. They're giving you an unfair leg up. People nowadays just use it. Oh, she's rich. She has a trust fund. She's a Nepo baby. Ozempic, I always see being misused and misunderstood. Narcissist and gaslight. Nobody has a shitty ex-boyfriend who lied to them anymore. It's always, my ex was a narcissist who would gaslight me. And sometimes they are, but not all the time. Media trained. You guys on Instagram, Ray said that the phrase conspiracy is misused all the time. Yes, it is. A conspiracy is when you conspire for something and there's multiple agencies and governments in play because there's money to be made off of this. But instead, people will be like, oh, here's my conspiracy on JoJo Siwa. I think that she's doing this bad girl thing and she's not really a bad girl. Girl, that's a theory. That's a thought. That's an opinion. That's not a conspiracy, Arlene said the phrase intrusive thoughts is being misused. Yes, it is. Laura said pick me. Marizzle said girls girl. Sarah, this one cracked me up. She said the phrase gatekeep. I saw a chick say that she gatekept her new apartment from her followers. So yeah, if you want to keep things like your blood type or your home address private to you, somebody's going to say you're gatekeeping information. No, I'm not, girl. It is a HIPAA violation if I tell you some of these things. Connor said the phrase POV. Gabby said empath. Casey said calling every nice moment a core memory drives me wild. And yes, I see that all the time on TikTok. And then the last two that we have here, Tori said the phrase tradwife. Yes. It's always misused. We might have to do a mini episode on tradwife content. And then the last thing that everybody said is mental health words. Oh my God, I'm so clean. I'm so OCD. Oh my God, this weather is crazy. It's being so bipolar. Oh my God, I'm all over the place. I'm so ADD. We very casually use these bastardized mental health words in a way that just doesn't really make sense. All right, so let's get into the fun stuff. Let's get into Chappell Roan. I'm obsessed with her. I just feel such joy. I can't stop listening to her album. There's something so fun and young and honest and authentic about it, but also like brave and confident and campy, but also self-aware. Like, I just think she's such a special artist. I'm so excited that she's like out here. Sometimes you start listening to an artist and you go, I just feel so lucky that we get this album. I just feel lucky to listen to it. And what else I love is that she's queer and she's writing so many songs. Growing up, having dated men, having dated women, I haven't really heard. We got a little, maybe, oh, I kissed a girl, Katy Perry. Poker Face by Lady Gaga. Is that about something different? Like, there were kind of themes growing up, but Chappell Roan is singing a song about like I was with a girl. Like, there hasn't really been a song about I hooked up with a girl and we went down on each other. But then the next day she said that she was straight and she didn't want to do it again, even though she keeps coming on to me. And you are not straight, girl. We both, munched each other's rugs last night and you're trying to pretend like it didn't happen. And it's making me feel weird and kind of like you're a fuck boy, but you're a girl. So are you a fuck girl? And like, are you ever going to come out? And I kind of feel invested in it, but I shouldn't. Confusing emotions, okay? And she has put a lot of those emotions and more, it's not all, queer songs, into this incredible album. It's just doing so well. So let's get into her and let's take it from the beginning. Like I said, she's 26. Her name is Kaylee, but she goes by the stage name Chappell Roan. And she came up with that stage name in honor of her late grandfather, Dennis Chappell. So he was getting older. I believe he was sick with cancer. And she was like, I don't even know if you're ever going to hear me sing live, but my stage name is going to be Chappell Roan after you, because his last name, Dennis Chappell, and his favorite song was Marty Robbins' The Strawberry Roan. So she put it together to have her name be Chappell Roan. And like I said, too, she has the stage name, but she also says that more recently, quote, it's been more of a drag project, especially now that I'm on tour. I'm in drag every night and I have drag queens opening for me. So it's easier to separate the two because I'm already so involved in my project and my work. And I feel like the drag of it all kind of lets you take a break. So when I take my makeup off, I am off the stage, etc. And this was really interesting to me because I think there were even rumors that she's going to try and dress up as every single Miss Piggy costume or something, which is really funny. But she said that she herself, she grew up in Missouri in the Midwest, and she said that herself as Kaylee, she has a lot of trouble flirting or watching sex scenes. But when she's Chappell Roan and she's singing those songs, there's that one in the song Casual where she's like, knee deep in the passenger seat and you're eating me out. Is it casual now? Eating me out. Like, I don't know if Kaylee would say that, but Chappell Roan does, and she gets bold with it, which I love in all of these songs. So she's a singer. She's also a songwriter. Like I said, she grew up in Missouri, and she has been working with Dan Najiro, is that how you say it? He is a famous producer. He's almost like the Jack Antonoff of the younger generation because he worked closely with Olivia Rodrigo on Sour and Guts, and he also worked with Chappell on Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess. And we're going to get into this when we talk about her story, but there was a moment where she couldn't work with him in LA because he was busy with Olivia Rodrigo's projects. And she was just like, I'll wait until you're done because you're really the only person that I feel comfortable working with, which I think is interesting. Today's episode is For Your Vagina. There's no beating around the bush, pun intended. I want to tell you a little bit about Soaking Wet. It's a supplement from VB Health. You might have seen me in Vegas with VB Health at the Porn Awards, aka the AVN Awards. I am so excited to learn about Soaking Wet because you have probably heard me talk about discharge too much on TikTok. But Soaking Wet is this incredible supplement. It's a blend of probiotics, prebiotics, and vitamins. It's basically like sending your vagina to the spa. So whether you are battling with BV or you are yearning to not have a yeast infection anymore, or perhaps you just literally want to be soaking wet and up the ante in the lubrication department, you can check out Soaking Wet. It's formulated by these medical doctors at VB Health, and it has thousands of probiotic strains. So it's just, like I said, sending your vagine to the spa. So you can visit soakingwet.com and use code FLUENTLY for 10% off, or you can click the link in our episode description. And by the way, that code FLUENTLY for 10% off, if maybe your vagina is crystal clear and everything's good, they also have green superfoods. They have sleep gummies, way more. So go check it out. You know that I love talking about this topic too much. So I'm a big fan of Soaking Wet. And you can use code FLUENTLY for 10% off at soakingwet.com. And Chappell and Olivia Rodrigo are really close friends. Chappell actually sang backup vocals for Olivia Rodrigo's song Lacey, which now I'm going to re-listen to it and try to see if I can hear her in the background. So Chappell's songs, they're kind of like 1980s synth pop, early 2000s pop hits. A lot of people describe her style as campy. It's just good. It's just very, very good. Okay. How'd she grow up, right? She was born February 19th, 1998 in Willard, Missouri, a very small town near Springfield. She's the oldest of four children, and she lived in a trailer park growing up, which she talks a lot about in different interviews. So she was raised a quote God girl. She attended church 3 times a week, but she said in different interviews, like, it was a little bit all over the place because, yeah, I was like going to church, but I was also sneaking out at night, but I would also still go to church 3 times a week. So she was very interested and intrigued by pop music of the late 2000s and the early 2010s. Kesha, Lady Gaga, Katy Perry. She said that when the video for Lady Gaga's Alejandro came out, she was in middle school and she was like, oh my God, is this porn? She was like, what is this video? So she said that she grew up feeling very different and she knew from a young age that she wanted to be a star. So in her early teens, not tweens, she started writing songs on a whim. This was so cute to me. She said that she was, quote, in love with an older Mormon student and thought that she, quote, had to write the greatest love song of all time for him. So then she put some of this stuff over on YouTube. She did a cover video and then she gets signed to Atlantic Records. And boom, before you know it, she's in high school, but she's also flying across the US for these different writing and recording sessions. And she thought it was incredible. She thought that she won the lottery, you know? It wasn't all roses, though. She did say, quote, it did not go over the best in high school. When I got signed, some kids just flat out thought that I was lying. It's so taboo. Like, nobody does that. And my music took 3 years to work on and nobody heard anything. So it was like, oh, well, she really is lying. And I feel like that must be so hard to deal with as an artist, the fact that especially if you start, I was going to say young, but really at any age, when you're first starting out, everybody's probably like, she's making a big deal of it. I'm not even actually hearing any music. She's kind of lying. And then the minute you take off and you become big, it's like, well, she's an industry plant. And it's probably like, fuck, like, what can I do, you know? So anyway, her late teens, her early 20s, she's hustling, she's in development, she's in LA, she's working with Dan. She meets Olivia Rodrigo, and she's also just kind of going through the motions of, holy shit, I'm in a big city for the first time. She said that she was, quote, shaking in Trader Joe's when she saw women shopping for groceries in sports bras, because that was an extreme no-no when she grew up. And then she found a bunch of queer spaces in WeHo, West Hollywood, all these different gay bars. She said, quote, I grew up thinking that being gay was bad and a sin. I went to the gay club once and it was so impactful. It was like magic. It was the opposite of everything I was taught. And that's where she writes her first big single, Pink Pony Club. It is incredible. It's all about her going to the gay club and dancing on the table in her heels and just feeling so free and accepted and being like, this is the place for me. But then thinking, won't make my mama proud. It's going to cause a scene. I know what she's going to say. God, what have you done? Like, you took my girl and now she's a pink pony girl at the Pink Pony Club. I would say one of my favorite, maybe at the end of this, I'll do some of my favorites on the album, but like, it's just such a good fucking song. However, the single underperformed. She said she also kind of didn't get it. Like, she thought it was a little bit cringe when she put it out. But then a few years later, she's like, actually, it's not cringe. It's camp. I need to like look at it differently, etc. So it was kind of a little bit of a failure her first time in LA. So then she goes back home to Missouri and she's trying to raise money to go back to LA. She was actually working at this drive-through coffee kiosk. She said it was one of those places like out in the Midwest where somebody's like, I want a coffee, but I want it to taste like a caramel snickerdoodle. And then you put all of this stuff in it and give them their like hyped up sugar coffee. She said that she hated it, but she saved enough money to move back west doing all these different odd jobs. And she was like, I have no money. I saved enough. I don't have a lot. I'm going to move back to LA. I'm going to give myself 12 months. I'm going to push through. And if nothing happens by the end of the year, it's a sign that I just need to move back home. So she goes back to LA. She starts working with Dan again. She signs with Amusement at Island Records. And they start putting together everything that becomes Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess. Now, there were other things too that I think helped make this big. And I think that's the fact that she opened for Olivia Rodrigo on the Guts tour. And then boom, the album comes out and it just absolutely went bonkers. I think it's been streamed like tens of millions of times already. And this is like relatively new. What else did she do? She also did the song. Maybe we should get into kind of all of the songs here. Let me like bring them up and then we'll do a little bit more about Chappell herself. All right. So I'm just trying to remember everything that I saw from different interviews that she did. Femininomenon, that's the number one song. Apparently, that was actually supposed to be the title of the album, not The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess. I like Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess better because even though it's long, Femininomenon, it just doesn't roll off the tongue. Red Wine Supernova is such a fun song, and she gets cheeky with it too. She's got a line in there where she's like, "Come back to my place. I heard you like magic. I got a wand and a rabbit." It's just cheeky. It's good fun. And when I say tens of millions of times, I actually take that back. Red Wine Supernova, as of right now on Spotify, has been played 117 million times. Like, even by the time I took that copy paste bit from an article, boom, it's already been streamed 10 times more. Like, she is blowing up. Coffee is track 4. It's such a great song where she's basically singing, like, to me, it gives like you're meeting up with an ex, you're having a debrief, or somebody where like, will they, won't they situationship. Should we get coffee? Well, it's never coffee. It's going to lead to something. We have to get coffee, not wine, because then wine leads to something. It's a good song. Casual, she told this incredible story where she basically said she was in this like situationship with a guy for a while. And when they broke up, apparently he told a friend of hers, "Oh yeah, we broke up, but like it wasn't that, it's okay, it's fine. Like we were pretty casual." And then when the friend reported back to Chappell and was like, "That guy you ended things with said that like it wasn't a big deal because it was casual," she was totally gutted because she was like, "It was not casual to me. I was having daydreams of us having an apartment together. Like I met his parents. I would like talk to his sister on the phone." So the song Casual is this great number all about like, you say that we're casual, you're eating me out in the passenger seat, and then your mom's inviting me out to your beach house for 2 weeks. Like, how casual is it? It's just like, I bet so many girls can relate to that. Hot to Go is a great song because she has a little almost like YMCA arm dance that goes along with it. All right, my favorite off the album so far, track number 8, My Kink is Karma. And ooh, this is a saucy song all about how, we broke up and you did me wrong. And I'm hearing about your life as months or years pass, and it's getting me off. The fact that you got arrested gets me off. The fact that you lost your friends gets me off. Like, it makes me feel so good and so hot. And it's almost like intertwined with sounds of her getting off, because there's different parts of the song where she's like, "Oh God," like it feels like good, like you crashed your car, like, "Oh God." And then she's like, "My kink is karma. My kink is you having your life ruined for everything that you did to me." Oh God, it's just so good. Pink Pony Club, of course, is great. Naked in Manhattan. This, I believe, starts off with like a voice memo phone call, like leaving a voice message. And this is where we get like a true to form queer. I think there was one line in it where she's like, "Guys suck and girls I've never tried." And maybe this is true for all relationships. I just feel like when you're a girl and you're dating a guy, like, you know that they're going to put the moves on you. You're not really worried about it. But in my experience as a girl, when I've dated other girls, both girls are used to kind of being pursued in like life. So it's so hard. And I've talked to some of my friends who were like, exploring their sexuality and maybe having some queer experiences. And they're like, if I'm with a girl, like, who makes the first move? And I just feel like when you're, what do they call it? I feel like this is offensive, like a baby queer, but you know what I mean? Like when, before you've had your first kind of queer experience. I remember I was dating this girl and she like drove me home and we sat in the car and we talked for an hour and a half. And then later, once we started dating, we were like, "Yeah, I was just working up the nerve to try and kiss you for an hour and a half." And I feel like the song Naked in Manhattan kind of goes over that. Like, we're friends, but like, are we more than friends? Like, this is what I want to do, but I'm not going to cross the line. Are you going to cross the line? Are we going to do this? Anyway, it's a 14 track album. It's amazing. You got to listen to it. You just got to listen to it. Okay. Other stuff as well that she has said too. I thought this was very interesting. She said, quote, "Thank God I came from the Midwest because I understand the people. I have family who have complete opposite views of my views and my values, and they still support my project. I have this perspective that I think people on the coast don't have of the people there. I know where they're coming from. It's just not that black and white." And I feel that so much. The Midwest, especially to people who live on the coast here in America, is such an enigma, and I think it's really deeply misunderstood. I mean, I've lived in New Jersey, New York, Florida, Texas, California, Illinois, Colorado, all over. And it's interesting that so many of the stereotypes that people have about the states in America aren't true. So just for example, off the top of my head, Houston. I think people think Houston, Texas, what a bland, boring white town. But Houston is actually the most diverse city in the country. 25% white, 25% Asian, 25% black, 25% Hispanic. Out of all, I remember I took a class at Rice University, like all about that and how it became the most diverse city. Jersey too. I think a lot of people think because of media, oh, Jersey Shore is so nitty gritty, like Jersey Shore dirt bags. Dude, Jersey is ritzy. That's where, Stephen Colbert and everybody lives because you want the tax benefits, even though it's still expensive in New Jersey, but then you commute into the city. Even Florida itself, I feel like Florida is 50 states inside of one state. Miami is so different from Tampa, which is so different from Boca Raton, etc. Anyway, so when I lived in San Francisco, people would talk about the Midwest as if everybody there was such a stupid, bumbling idiot who didn't know anything. And I was just like, what are you on about? Like, we're all part of the same country. Like, we all have the same media sources. We're all having the same type of food. We all have the same healthcare. I just find it very, very interesting how people stereotype the Midwest. What I have found a stereotype that's true about the Midwest, the people are so nice. And Chappell is just so nice. You can just tell in all these different interviews that she does. So Chappell Roan is also diagnosed as bipolar, and I wanted to find a little bit more about what she said about this, but I haven't found too much yet. She said that she was diagnosed bipolar when she was 22, so that would be 4 years ago, and she said that as a child, quote, I think my parents just thought I was being a brat, so I had such a difficult time. And one of my friends here in Denver is bipolar, and she said it's one of the diagnoses that's like the most underdiagnosed out there. Apparently, 1 in every 20 people is bipolar. Isn't that crazy? And did you also know that 1 out of every 20 is a sociopath? That's too many. Anyway, I also want to cover a little bit of the drama associated with Chappell Roan, and this is drag drama. So Chappell Roan, like I've said before, she considers herself a drag queen with her own persona, and she said, I've never fully understood why women shouldn't be allowed to do drag because, yes, I do drag. It feels like they don't like women doing certain things. Another man trying to tell a woman what to do. Just try telling me what to do. I'm a drag queen, whether you like it when women do it or not. And she said that because she sees Chappell as her drag persona, she finds it a little bit jarring when fans call her by her real name, Kaylee. She said, quote, could you imagine somebody calling Trixie Mattel Brian when she's in drag? Which, yeah, like I would never imagine somebody doing that. And then she also said that, you know how people on Twitter are like, to somebody who's queer or somebody who is queer, they'll be like, oh my God, she's so everything. Like she's mother. She said that it's kind of weird because like she'll have fan meet and greets and she said, quote, there are people 10 years older than me coming up to me and being like, mother. And I'm like, I'm your child. Like she's 26. Anyway, this is where the drama happened. So I haven't watched much of RuPaul's Drag Race, but apparently season 16, there was a finalist called Plain Jane. And she got a huge amount of backlash online because she made these comments about Chappell Roan. So she said on Twitter, will I get tomatoes thrown at me if I say Chappell Roan's love for drag feels performative as fuck? And then the monkey emoji covering the eyes. No shade queen, secure the bag. And then she commented underneath and said, I'm all for artists platforming and celebrating drag. Just a skeptic being skeptical with a kissy face. And then this got a lot of heat. People were saying, you know, Chappell Roan is a drag queen herself, but because she's not a gay man or her love for drag is performative, this is why Plain Jane didn't win Drag Race. I don't know much about Drag Race, right? Now, I will say, yeah, that is a little bit fucking annoying, you know? Like, only a gay man can do drag. Like, that just seems very exclusive, doesn't it? And I feel like that kind of goes against what drag is supposed to be, very inclusive and bringing people together and part of this like warm, welcoming community. Now, however, you know, I also feel like I kind of get what Plain Jane is saying in the sense that she's just saying an opinion. She's saying it feels performative as fuck to me. You know, people don't agree with the opinion. You get heat for it, but I think you have your right to your opinion. I mean, that's what my entire career is about. Opinion. So then Plain Jane put out a little note and she said, "It's funny how whenever I seem to step out of line with some of these fans, they immediately double down on calling me a man. I don't particularly take offense to that because, hey, drag comes off, but something about it in this context seems disrespectful as shit, particularly because of how hypocritical it is. Of course, the first person to do so are the same people who correct others when they use he pronouns for drag queens or call drag queens by their government names or even want people to be respectful of how they themselves identify. By all means, keep calling me a man." And then there's a slur here. And then she says, "Whatever, to fuel your little online arguments. Just know that you don't fucking know me like that, boo, and you'll never have the pleasure to." So let me know what you think about it. I do think it's annoying, right? Like, let Chappell Roan do drag. Like, it's not like she's making a mockery of the art or the culture. Like, she's fully embodying this. She has the stage name. It's almost like a little bit in between drag and Lady Gaga. Like, she has the stage name, the performances, the outfits, and you can tell she puts her heart and soul and fucking pussy into every single performance that she does and the whole showmanship of it. I just think it's great. And also, she has, I think, local drag queens at every single stop on her tour that perform with her. And even though she's young and green and she's not making a lot of money right now, she said this in interviews, like, she is still giving a portion of all of her profits to different LGBTQ communities. And she's in the community herself. So, I don't know. I would just say that's probably what having like an anonymous account on Reddit is for. So then that way Plain Jane could go on Reddit and be like, "It feels performative to me." And then other people would be like, "Me too," or like, "I hate you," or something like that. But yeah, let me know what you thought about that. Now, in terms of like blind items and gossipy gossip, there's not much that I could find about Chappell Roan. Is she dating anyone? I don't know. She was in a relationship for 4 years with a man and then they broke up. She every single article says she's queer. So she's queer. Then people are referring to her as bisexual. I don't know. Some of the songs on this album are about men, some are about women. I believe she said before in interviews that she is only focused on dating women right now. But yeah, in terms of like gossipy gossip, I just can't really find anything. She did say recently on a TikTok, she's like, "It's been so overwhelming how fast everything has happened, how big it's gotten." But she said the really nice thing is that I've gotten so much support. Like, so many different female pop stars have reached out and said like, "I'm here if you need to talk or want advice." And it just like feels so sweet and so girl. And it really does. And I think it's exciting too. Like, Chappell, Billie Eilish. I was going to say everybody queer is being big right now, but obviously Sabrina Carpenter isn't. And Charlie XCX, when I did research for last week's episode on her, somebody had said like, "Are you bisexual? You give bisexual vibes." And Charlie was like, "I'm so sorry, but like, no, I'm not. I feel like I'm disappointing you, but like, unfortunately I am straight, but whatever." So anyway, no gossip about her yet. She is a Midwest princess who seems like just a nice girl, and I cannot recommend enough listening to her album. I will certifiably say she's not an industry plant, but why is Spotify playing her song so much? You know what I mean? Like, now I'm listening to the album, but it really put me off from listening to it because I just felt very like stubborn bitch digging my heels. Like, Spotify, the more you try to make an artist happen, the more you're not actually going to make them super happen. Maybe you will, but typically all you're going to do is just give them the industry plant label. So maybe lay off it a little bit and instead recommend my podcast to people as an autoplay after playlist. Just a suggestion. So anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me for this episode this week. And of course, if you want to check out our episodes on Patreon, let me shout out some of the ones. Also, if you don't want to pay for Patreon, sign up for free. I dropped a new free episode on there for folks. It was the Dead Internet Theory, Internet Addictions, and Internet Conspiracy Theories episode. So that's a free over hour-long episode that you can get if you just sign up for free on Patreon. Or if you don't want to sign up for real, we did that 2-hour NT episode. What do? We have discussions for the public episode. So everybody was talking about the Charlie XCX one. What do we do here? Celebrity thruples. Oh my God, this was a fun one from 2 weeks ago. We talked all about which celebrities are in thruples, like actually versus alleged, and also the dynamics of a three-way relationship. Like what makes a thruple work? What are some kind of blind spots that thruples find themselves in? And then we also talked about challengers because obviously it's a little bit of a thruple movie. What did we do before that one? Oh, we talked about the UFO conference and everything we found there. I had my boyfriend on for that one. And celebrity cringe, just a little bit of everything. There was a cool little snippet. All of the inventions that we have today because NASA put them out and had the technology for them. Anyway, fun stuff if you want to check that out. And if not, I'll see you soon for another public episode of Fluently Forward. Have a good one, guys. Bye.